Friends, welcome and welcome back to Andy's Rec Room. Today, as I mentioned in my last video, I am super stoked to present my CarboXtreme Mark II Tonearm. Yep, it's finally done. I got to testing it and I ran it with a couple of carts that I know pretty well. The Audio-Technica VM95EN. And I moved up to a Denon 103, not the R, just a regular 103, and moved on finally to the Hana ML. And I gotta say, it's performing great with all of these different cartridges. I was able to test it thoroughly by switching between the carts as I went along. And it's similar to my previous Tonearm, the CarboXtreme. I will link the video to the more extensive discussion on the original Tonearm down below. It'll be there. This is not a completely new design. Unlike the truss design I designed, which is fully 3D printed, and a couple other ones. It's an evolution of the CarboXtreme. So I wanted to talk today what the differences are and the benefits and features of going for this Tonearm. This Tonearm will be available on printables for purchase. The original files are still going to be free if you want to build the original one. There's a lot of work in this. We're pushing 3 years of development on this Tonearm, so I would like to get a little bit of funding if possible for the files to carry on working on it and perfect it and make it available to a lot of folks for a very, very, very nominal price. The main differences in this one are obviously aesthetic. But where I started to change things up was the isolation principles, how the cartridge is separated from the Tonearm in terms of vibrational feedback, and also how the whole Tonearm is separated from the turntable. So you got two levels of vibration and feedback control you want to look at in this particular Tonearm. So I'm going to start off at the front of the Tonearm, and I'm going to move my way back to the counterweight. So when we start off with the very front of the Tonearm, we have a few pieces. This piece obviously being the lifter, so you can just place it where you want to place it on your vinyl, of course. But what's different on this one versus the first one is the first one had a plate on top. The reason why I use multiple pieces, it's the same principle in a recording studio. You'd have different thicknesses of glass. The moment you mix materials of different thicknesses and densities, you're going to mess up how easy it is for the vibrations to travel down the tubes. And that's something we don't want. We don't want the cartridge to start exciting the tubes. That's definitely not a good thing. So this principle here, where I have a piece that'll be glued onto the front and a piece that's going to be glued onto the back, start the process of eliminating this vibration going down the tubes. So that's the front end of it. Now, one of the bigger parts of this Tonearm that changed it from the first one is the pivot. I made the pivot even more sparse, so the contact points on this one are very minimal. The pivot is held on by these 4 spots here, which have double-sided tape. So what you have on the unipivot design is you have the pivot coming up from the bottom. It doesn't touch anything except the receptacle here, and then that's attached to the actual holder for the carbon fiber tubes. And the tubes, of course, I have some over here, run through the mounting platform as such, and carry on to the front. It also has a piece that goes on here, and it also has one piece that goes on the back. So the same concept where these will ideally dampen some of the vibrations either coming off the Tonearm and bouncing back, or anything that still comes up through the pivot. So you have these mixed media, if you want to call them, pieces that will attenuate vibrations traveling through there. Now, one thing that's different on this Tonearm too that's actually really, really important, and this will be more visible, I'll do a build video on this, but the actual wires, and you'll see that in one of the photos of the completed Tonearm, run through an aluminum tube that's captured by this little rubber insert. So the wires actually don't travel inside the tubes on this Tonearm. They actually travel down a separate 3/32 inch aluminum tube that travels down the middle here. Very, very different design concept. Easier to build, and so far the noise rejection has been fantastic on it. So we got the front bits, we got the pivot bits, the isolation bits, which are pretty hard to see here. I'll try to do a close-up and pop that in afterwards, of course. But you got those little guys. And then you have the counterweight. And of course, it also has two pieces that are going to go front and back on here. But what's special about this one versus the very original one, which I still think is a good design for Tonearms that balance easily, but if you need to actually adjust the azimuth. So if you pop your Tonearm on your record and you notice that it's kind of doing one of these, you have a section here that will let you adjust where the weight resides. So you can adjust your azimuth very easily. Also, the insert is eccentric. So for fine adjustments, you can turn this, or you can, of course, I just usually just slide my counterweight up and down the tubes to get my, whatever weight it is, be it 2 grams or 1.8 or whatever you need to do. But I find that some people might want a very fine one, so you could theoretically just glue this in place at very, very close to what you want, and then you can spin this. I have a separate tool that allows you to adjust this and get a very, very, very fine adjustment. The setup for the Tonearm, I tried to make as easy as possible. In the files, you're going to find a guide to adjust when you're building it, the pivot to needle tip distance, and you're also going to have another guide that does the spindle to pivot. So you'll have the adjustments needed for where the Tonearm has to sit vis-a-vis your turntable center, and you'll be able to adjust the actual effective length perfectly. The angle is actually baked in, so you don't have to worry about that. But you do have to get the distance correct, so those things are quite important. So these are the main features of the Tonearm. I'm really excited because the sound of it, combined with a really good cartridge, has been, to my liking, excellent. But of course, everyone's different and you're entitled to your opinions. So what I'm doing is I'm including a couple files that you can go to and listen. I'm not going to include them on this video because they're way too big. I did Steely Dan, Gaucho album again. I have the remastered edition, and I also have the 1980 vinyl that I bought as a kid. I still have that record. Somehow I must have lent the record to somebody because the first track is a little manky on there. So when you listen to it, it's for Babylon Sisters, the first bit's kind of chewed up, but then it's fine. It goes into the record. And what's interesting is this comes back to separate discussions I've had with you guys before. Mastering is so important. Mastering and pressing will change a record drastically. When you listen to the remastered versus the original, same cartridge, same level, same preamp, same everything, you're gonna notice that it's gonna be like, wow, this sounds almost like a different mix. It's that different, but very, very enjoyable. So this is a synopsis of the main differences between my original Tonearm and the new one. And like I said before, check out the original video if you want to see how that one was built. And I'm super stoked. This is extremely exciting for me because this marks a point where I am pretty much happy to release it as sort of semi-commercial release at first. I will be making completed Tonearms as well if anybody will be interested in the future, but I want to start it off for the DIYers and the people that want to explore the audio. Get it out there, try it out, let me know what you think. And we're going to get into more detail in the build video. But for now, guys, this is what I wanted to show you. Super excited, and please let me know what you think. And if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe and like. I'm trying to build up the channel to do crazy projects like this, and I'll see you guys in probably another week. I got a couple of other videos cooking. All right, you guys, take care.